Dennis Tubbergen here with another economic update. Today is Monday, April 30, 2018. And Advisor Perspectives, which is a site that if you follow my economic updates and market updates at all frequently, is a site that I look to for a lot of good information. They have a lot of really terrific authors and contributors on the site. And John Malden is a gentleman that I've had the opportunity to interview in the past. Really a big admirer of his work, as are probably a million other people around the world. And John talks about in an April 27 update, which would have been just last Friday, the idea that an inverted yield curve may be predictable of a coming recession. And he's got an article here titled Economy with a Fever. And he's writing a bit in the article saying, lately I see a lot of talk about the flattening yield curve and speculation it might invert as the economy enters recession. If that happens, the inverted yield curve won't be the culprit. It will point to another culprit or combination of them. Now, further down in the article, he says, in late 2006, when the yield curve was last in the process of inverting, I put in a call to then New York Fed's Dr. Fred Mishkin, who co-authored a seminal report, reviewing 20 different indicators as recession forecasting tools. They found only the inverted yield curve had any true significance, and that it was generally a year early. So John points out the fact in the article that he made a recession call in 2006 based on the inverted yield curve. The market then went up 20% after he said it was time to begin to move out of stocks. And he said, I didn't look like a genius until 2 years later, but only after months of being mocked. He says, now everybody claims to have predicted the Great Recession. Memories are a funny thing, absolutely. I mean, everybody's smart when they can go back and say, I did it way back when, or I did it at the time. But the point is here that yield curves, when they invert, and basically an inverted yield curve, if you're not familiar with the term, it just means what's the yield on the 2-year U.S. Treasury and what's the yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury. And yield curves, when they invert, meaning the 2-year yield is actually higher than the 10-year yield, typically you see a recession follow at some point after that, and maybe 12 months or so. I think the article says 6 to 24 months. But the point is this: if you look at the chart that Mr. Malden has in his article, you see the yield curve has been declining significantly since 2014. And prior to the last recessions, back here in the late 80s, back here in 2001, 2002, and back here in 2006, 2007, the yield curve inverted. It's now headed again in that direction. Mr. Malden in his article says that we could see inversion within the next year or so. If it keeps dropping at the current rate, that may forecast a recession. Certainly, as I have been bringing you economic data and articles from reliable sources since I've been doing the economic update, I believe that sometime in the next 12 to 24 months, we are headed for a recession for a lot of the reasons that I have been outlining. And Malden in his article points out something that is also very important. He said that a lot of experts now are saying that this time is different. And there's a great book by that name that talks about the fact that economists always say, well, yes, this happened in the past, but this time is different for whatever reason. Well, the book concludes that this time is really never different, because there are certain basic fundamental economic laws that are unchangeable, just like the law of gravity can't be changed. So that's today's economic update. Today is Monday, April the 30th, 2018, and I'm Dennis Tubbergen.